Every time the pressure rises, we play better. Let's go take down the champ.
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis,
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
documentary shorts,
And we've played Brute Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
and a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.
This game is brought to you by Spin Ultimate, proud to sponsor Ultiworld's 2020 college coverage. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com.
C'est the fields.
And now your host.
Welcome to Mason, Ohio here for the Division I College Championships. I'm Patrick Stegemeller.
I'm Tad Whistle.
And we're here to bring you a spectacle. Maybe more than that. Maybe something deeper. Plunging within the human condition to find some meaning in this crazy thing we called life. It's a pool play game at Nationals.
Well, Pat, one thing's for sure. If this game is half as good as the Pitt-Wilmington game that you and I just watched, we'll be still regretful that we didn't live stream the Pitt-Wilmington game.
I cannot express to you how good of a game that was. The fact that you have to watch this probably terrible game instead of that, my heart goes out to all of you. It was so great. But we've got some teams here. I don't know, Oregon or something, Wisconsin,
White, regular Wisconsin.
Regular Wisconsin, right? Right. Both 2-1 in Pool D. Spot in pre-quarters essentially assured for both of them. And at this point, it's all about matchup gaming. One of these will be the second team. One of these will be the third.
Pat, we just heard Wisconsin break it down there in their team huddle. We saw them play earlier in a moment of, the first time that they played regional rival in the North Central Minnesota. An exciting game, 15-13 at the end. Some late drops, some late throwaways by Wisconsin. They just weren't able to hold on, but I wonder how much gas they're going to have left because they were really going for it to try to win the pool.
Well, I will say this. They might be more rested than you think because Minnesota were trying to call as many terrible spite travel calls to get the game to hard cap as they could. So the stop-and-start nature, I think, really gave them some rest. Maybe something Oregon is not totally calculated. Of course, Oregon coming off a game the previous round, but it was against Virginia Tech, who they beat 15-6, and boy, it was not even that close.
You know, I heard Virginia Tech has Joe Freund.
Really? I haven't. I hadn't heard that. There was no...
It's just something it was in the media tent. It was mentioned.
That is the inside scoop that we're able to give you from being here on the ground in Mason, Ohio. The Emerald City.
I think that's right.
That's right.
I think that's exactly right.
Now we've got Oregon on defense, and we'll have Wisconsin on offense. Now, let's take a look at that Wisconsin starting offensive line. Right now we're taking a look. Here we go. Starting on offense for Wisconsin, we've got Avery Johnson, the orange Unabomber. We've got Nicholas Vogt, another orange Unabomber. We've got Graham
Kiernick.
Graham Keurig. We've got Chris Wildcard Wiling. Ross Broad Barker. Oh, what a picture of a man that boy is.
Fearsome, built like a tight end.
Not skipping his creatine shakes, I'll tell you that. Then we've got Tommy Thomas, the Tank Engine Gallagher. And rounding things off, Maddox Hill.
Maddox Hill. Should be exciting. He loves his dog. Got to respect a man like that. All right, we're going to take a look now at the Oregon D-line.
As they come out here to pull.
Wearing their blacks.
Black versus white, Oregon versus Wisconsin.
A tale in Mason, Ohio as old as time. And the pull is up.
Leandro Marks on the pull. And that is going to go out of bounds. Terrible pulling all weekend from pretty much every team we've seen.
It's been subpar. Sam Van Duzen from Pittsburgh was on fire yesterday. We wrote about it in a recap piece last night. And then today, against Wilmington, first game for Pitt, buries it in the trees.
Not enough pulls in Callahan videos, so I guess players aren't incentivized to work on them.
Yeah. Ooh, sending it deep now. Kernick looking for Barker.
Oh, and look at those glutes, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you don't skip leg day.
Got to activate.
Oh! Rising, exploding up in the air over 2 ego players.
Oregon defenders a little upset about that. You see Martin Harris reacting.
Are they upset about the spike? Are they upset about getting embarrassed in front of everybody?
Yeah, Barker's not a big man. He is got a replay here. Kernick walking it up. Actually coached Graham in high school. It's a miracle he's still playing Ultimate. Sending it deep. Barker, they get the help.
Oh, put that on a poster.
Get a Fathead.
Of course, this stream is sponsored by Fathead. Come on down to the big old Fathead store. You can get your family, your pets, your neighbors, pictures that you take of your neighbors, up on Fathead at fatheadstore.com.
That's a good way to start for Wisconsin. It's slightly upwind, downwind, left to right on your screen. And in the sloppiness of yesterday, I had a lot of coaches and players reassure me that it wasn't actually that windy, which was a total lie.
It wasn't actually that windy. We're just bad, I guess is the deduction to make there. So now we get a look at this Oregon offense here, coming out here on the O-line. Look at him standing there, stoic, as the disc approaches. Centered up to Colton Clark. The young swan, they call him, to Reese. Oregon moving the disc laterally, not something you see from them a lot. They're more like a racehorse with blinders, just chasing that carrot.
Wisconsin did a really good job of sealing the mark when they got the swung, when the disc was swung against them in Minnesota last round. Minnesota does it better than anyone. Wiling in pursuit. Oh!
Colton Clark lumbering deep. You know, he's a handler, doesn't go deep that often. You can see it there. You know, usually in practice, when you're out of ideas of what to do, you do some sort of a deep drill, but you do have your 2 or 3 handlers back, and they're the ones throwing the hucks instead of cutting deep. And we see the downside of that approach right now.
You know, they call Wiling the tickler because of his approach to playing defense deep, but he was able to just touch the essence of the Frisbee there. Kind of a shadow block on Colton Clark.
Now we see this fearsome Wisconsin D-line marching down the field. Gigantic specimen of a man, Nick Lattice, but with a feathery touch on that flick. Power and precision like a European sports car.
Swung on to David Yu. Who, that's not just a ponytail, those are also cornrows. They may have obstructed his view there. Just tags Brandon Petrus in the side.
Sender Quizon Tice wildly faking to no one before throwing to an open dump. And of course, whenever the disc gets within 10 yards of the end zone, players are obligated to call some sort of a pick or a bump. Heightens the drama. We get to sort of have a plateau phase here before the exciting climax to the point.
Kind of let everyone catch their breath.
Yeah,
You're watching at home, you can settle in for some clean, call-filled end zone offense. All right, and Ego digs it up.
Nice grab there from Reese. Reese, a really versatile player. He's been operating downfield and in the handler set all weekend, scoring a lot on those upline cuts. Amazed we didn't get another pick call there, though.
I feel wronged in a way, but it was the first O point for Oregon. We'll see that what Wisconsin can scrape together as we move out throughout the game. Pat, this was your pool. This is the one you were assigned coming into the weekend. What have you kind of noticed? Well, we're looking at the replay here.
Well, I think this replay actually does a good job of summing up what some of these teams are about. You've got Wisconsin playing straight-up man defense, Oregon stuck on the trap sideline, and instead of trying to get off of it, decided to just push right on through.
Break on through to the other side, Pat. What have you seen from Oregon in pool play so far? What have you seen from Wisconsin that stuck out?
Oregon, they just play so fast. You know, they love speed. Offense and defense, they want to turn these games into a track meet. I think their defensive line, the efficiency of their defense has been maybe surprising, but certainly something that Oregon has to be happy about. Their D-line offense was not very efficient earlier this year, But it seems as though they were just being lazy and have decided to actually start playing at Nationals, which is a time-honored tradition of blue-chip programs like Oregon.
In Wisconsin, we saw them fall to Minnesota. I kind of get the vibe in Pool D that there are three great teams, or maybe one great team, and two good teams that just aren't anywhere near as good as Minnesota.
This is essentially the consolation game between the two teams that got pasted by Grey Duck. But don't let that take away from the excitement, folks. Because isn't that what sport is all about? It's not about who's going to win the big game. It's who's going to win this game. Who's going to win those little one-on-one matchups. You know, I was talking to Hector Valdivia before this one, and he got a little philosophical and said that sport is not about success. Sport is about defeating someone else.
Yeah, imposing your will, I think, were the choice words that he used.
Yes.
I was nearby for that.
I believe he has that tattooed into his back right next to his Hodag tattoo.
Kind of a Spartan mentality. You know, the only real love is between a man and his warrior companion. And no one has personified that more than Wisconsin. You see an inside-out flick from Barker.
And that's just good, clean, old-fashioned ultimate right there. March it down the field, find that little pocket of space, and you've got a bunch of dudes in 80s headbands getting the job done. Ken Dobbins would be proud.
Avery Johnson, the man who's going to chalk the goal there.
And he's been all over the field for Wisconsin this week. We see him here receiving downfield. Usually a handler. Wisconsin has moved him into the cutting fold so far this year. He's been able to cause a lot of damage. You see Barker dishing another assist there. That's the thing about Wisconsin. Their cutters put up a lot of assists because their handlers, their one job is really to sort of get it 10 yards downfield. Once they do that, we let the cutters take care of business.
That's absolutely right. It's funny, you look at other programs, they're the exact opposite of a lot of teams. Pitt Wilmington that we just saw.
And let's take a look here at the Oregon offensive line. We've already seen them once. We get a little introduction here.
There they are. Adam Reese, Colton Clark looking stoic as ever. Brandon Petrus, Noah Stewart, I think next to the Stanley Cup. Will Laurie, know that face anywhere. Xander Kuzan-Tice and Max Moore looking happy and excited.
And who isn't happy and excited to be playing Ultimate?
Moved on to Reese.
Now, you see, the ground was deceptively flat there. And that is why Scyther took that read on the disc, I would say.
Came out a little funny for Colton Clark. Disc up to Wiling. Wiling's going to give it a run here.
Nothing funny about that rip.
Ooh. A huge bid by Nick Lattice.
Yeah, felt the earth shake here from that one.
May have been OB already.
But hey, Ultiphotos doesn't know that.
And neither do the people he's friends with on Facebook that don't know anything about Ultimate.
Here we see where Oregon's run into trouble this year, getting trapped on that forced sideline. Get the swing off to Reese. Reese again showing his versatility, coming back into the backfield, putting a nice flick out into space. Particularly in a little bit of a windy game, that kind of touch is very impressive.
Wow. Huge play by Lattice. And he's going to draw the call. Definitely some contact there on Max Moore.
Classic Wisconsin, no contest. Sort of letting them know they're there. Like, hey, knock, knock, neighbor, can I borrow a cup of sugar? I'm going to be around often.
Whoa.
That was less like borrowing a cup of sugar and more home invasion.
Whew.
That looks like it might be serious.
Yeah, both Wisconsin defenders jostling for position there.
Looks like Tice is getting up. That's good to see.
They came down on Tice in a weird way. Boy.
Looks like he might have taken a blow to the head there.
But I got to say, a bit of a soft call. A little surprised with that call from Tice.
I think those defenders have the right to the space inside of Tice's skull. So that's the rule of verticality, I believe.
All right, they're going to give it to him. Clark dishes it nicely along to Noah Stewart.
More offensive success here from these teams.
And we're still on serve.
Now, I think we want to take the time here to talk about Mason, Ohio, our host city here. We were lucky enough to get out to one of their cultural institutions yesterday. I believe it's called a Walmart.
Yes, we were.
Yeah, and we asked some folks what they thought about Ultimate Frisbee. Now, responses were a little mixed, I would say. A lot of them involved, what's that thing with dogs you do, or, like...
Get the F away from me.
Right, yeah, exactly, that sort of a thing. Ohio turns out pretty liberal gun laws, which we did not know until we started accosting people at a Walmart and sticking a microphone in their face.
They play it fast and loose out here in southwestern Ohio. As was evident yesterday when you and I stopped at a Marathon gas station and heard a manager berate his employee. It was a great way to start, 7:45 a.m. The guy was just complaining about a broken cooler. It was fantastic.
That's the local charm you get from this kind of job. We're lucky to get to travel all around the country to places like Mason and
Milwaukee,
Rockford.
Yeah.
And really just see a slice of life here. As the pull goes up. Big pull there from Colby Chuck, freshman phenom from Oregon. Side stack look there, turning into Ho.
Ooh.
Barker with a big fake.
Had me fooled.
Ooh, a little Globetrotters routine here for Wisconsin.
Some puck luck there.
The most generous thing you can say about the Oregon defense at this point is that they're looking a little confused.
A lot of in-cuts from Wisconsin. Barker with a disc. Nice around flick to Jorgensen. Jorgensen with that, every tall guy's got it, that lazy, high-release backhand that just comes so natural to people that are 6'3" or taller.
You know what? I think Jorgensen needs to check his height privilege on that throw. But the offenses are rolling here so far, as we're off to a fast start to this game. Jorgensen, of course, younger brother of Sandy Jorgensen from DC Scandal.
I think she's floating around here, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she's been around.
Hanging out.
Papa Jorgensen, John Jorgensen, is here as well to witness his son lazily dish a high release into the end zone. And knowing that all the money he's spending on his throwing away his academic career to focus on Ultimate is worth it.
Well, he'll go down in history here on this, what's sure to be a train wreck of a live stream.
What does it mean to be powered by Savage? It means we become part of your team. From the moment you're paired with one of our sales reps who will guide you through the ordering process, to working with a designated member of our design team to bring your vision to life. Every step of the production process happens in-house, from printing your gear on our green line fabric made from 100% recycled plastic bottles, to cutting out every piece and carefully stitching it together by hand. Wherever you are, however you play, we've got your back. That's what it means to be powered by Savage.
Okay, Wisconsin defense yet to really generate the kind of pressure and turnovers we're used to seeing. Give credit to Oregon's offense for that. Again, that speed that we've been talking about, unafraid to make quick decisions as well as quick cuts.
Got Wiling out there, Lattice bookending the line right now as the big sort of deep defenders. David Yu running down with a ponytail made of dreads. Like a henchman in a Gary Oldman movie.
Matthews was wide open, looked off by Reese. Matthews recovering from a food poisoning bout that kept him out yesterday. It's a big pickup here for Oregon, get him back.
A little knock-knock from Lattice right there again.
Hey, you know, the way you bid when you're trying to touch the disc is back first. So that clearly seemed like an intentional play to get the disc and not in any way rough up the receiver.
Well, the game sure has evolved. It looks like Connor Matthews calling some sort of hip-touching foul.
Not quite sure exactly what the technical term for that would be.
More the midriff, actually.
Yes, yes.
No foul. All right. Marvin Vong. You know, Shakira said hips don't lie, but apparently in this case they do. And they're going to give that turf turnover to Wisconsin. Von Campen picking it up, giving it a run right away. Oregon camped out underneath.
Matthews claiming the D on that, it appears.
Selflessly.
Selflessly claiming the D.
Man, just the tip. 14 from Oregon filled us in there. Sometimes that's all you need, Pat.
Ultimate is a game of tips.
Matthews toes it.
Getting the tip of his toe there.
And a big outside in. Is this one going to come down inbounds? Absolutely not.
That's the rarely seen punt and play D from a one stall count when you're on your offensive line strategy.
It's 2017, Pat. The game is ever changing. There's more ultimate camps and footage out there than ever. It's not unbelievable to think that Oregon's seeing something we're not. Wiling dishes it along to you. You kicks it up. Lattice giving it a run. Oh, and that's one you wonder, is Wiling able to run that out if they hadn't gone so hard to win that Minnesota game? 15-10. Wiling was doing the Lord's work out there, trying to stay with some of those fast and big cutters of Minnesota.
Wiling drew the Cole Wallen matchup, which is, you know, that puts about 3 games worth of miles on your body.
It's like being locked in a phone booth with a Tasmanian devil.
Tasmanian devil that loves travel calls. And here comes the disc up to Reese. And that is textbook body positioning for Reese. Had a great line to the disc. Lattice tried to go up early. No chance at it. And that's Ego's Callahan nominee reeling in the goal.
Able to position there.
It's 3-3, Tad. Who knew?
Here we are. Replay coming back.
And again, you see here, it's the same third. Heck, that's maybe even a same 16th huck there. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Getting that little downhill advantage too. Reese able to position Wiling as Lattice as they're going downhill a little bit.
Important to note here, yeah, the field is sloping towards the camera. USAU decided that flat fields weren't hip enough to attract young audiences. They wanted to throw a twist in, and were playing on a multi-dimensional surface.
Part of their rebranding campaign, and I, for one, support it.
It was a big point of contention during the Vision Tour, I believe, was the slope of the field.
It was up there.
Oh, yeah. It was like that, gender equity, and what Tom Crawford is hiding underneath that headband. We're not sure. Could be Voldemort. Who knows?
Well, kudos to those who were in the sloped field subcommittee that were broken up in each city during the Vision Quest Tour. They got their wish today, and it's paying off for Oregon's offense. Ego on D, pulling left to right. Wisconsin looking for another hold.
Tactical offside there from Ego, it would appear. You know, in life, having a safety net can sometimes really smother you in the crib, you know? You want to live out there without that extra offsides buffer. So you're really tuned in. You're ready to go. It's sort of like how at a party tournament, you want to wake up, maybe not know where all your things are, maybe, be a little foggy from the night before. You have to push through that adversity, and that's really how you achieve greatness.
You want to start round one missing either your phone, your keys, or your wallet. Same idea with having one to burn with offsides on a pull.
And we'll see if he can manage to keep it onsides this time, and he does. Nice big pull there, coming in left to right. Not dropped. A little bit of a rarity this weekend. We've seen tons of dropped pulls.
Yeah, in critical situations. Well, the game isn't on the line yet the way it was for Washington and Cal Poly Slow. Barker grooves one up to Vogt. That was a gorgeous throw.
And that's what we're talking about with Wisconsin's offense. It's this downhill approach of we want to get the disc to our cutters, make them take those continuation throws. And Barker, he's that kind of double threat, pick your poison player that we talk about so much. You saw him have a huge sky earlier in the game over 2 ego players, and now he's able to just feather a flick perfectly into space. Vogt maybe milking that a little bit, trying to incur a bid from that ego player. I have noticed that the new thing people are doing is really trying to get someone to bid at a disc you're definitely catching.
Just to humiliate them?
Just to humiliate them. Popularized, of course, by Nathan Haskell a few months ago, where he was tipping that disc on his finger and had the guy come in and smack it down right in front of his face. But these are the innovations that are occurring right now in the game. Spiking has become somewhat obsolete. It's a little...
Now it's about, between the whistles tonic.
Exactly. 2 steps away from professional wrestling at this point. Still no breaks here, as Wisconsin has the 4-3 lead. And Tad, you're technically the analyst in this game.
Sure.
What do you think Oregon has to do to start applying a little more pressure, generating some more turnovers from Wisconsin?
Well, if there's one thing I think wouldn't hurt, it's running a zone, but certainly wouldn't be like Oregon to junk it up. Until then, Barker's been red hot. If you can figure out a way to maybe stop some of those early in cuts and get hucks going from the handlers of Wisconsin, could be some success there. Draw one of those cutters back, get people out of position downfield. But as long as Barker's coming in and getting open in cuts, it's his game.
And that's why Avery Johnson's been so valuable to Wisconsin this year, because he's able to provide that sort of connection
like
between
a
the handler
player.
Core. Yeah, almost like a German offense that you would have seen ran back in 1997, perhaps. So the 2-1-4 approach.
Yeah, we have seen Avery Johnson in the stack a lot thus far this weekend.
Evidently something happened, and now Oregon gets the disc about 10 yards. It seems as though the disc went out of bounds on the pull.
Whoa.
Freshman Ted Seither picking it up. Probably terrified. Yep, takes the smart approach there for a freshman. Just dump it to the senior.
Cuts back, tackles the Frisbee up line. Swung on.
And Oregon successfully completing 4 straight throws in which someone had to touch the ground with their knees. Not easy to do. It's almost like a tip drill. So we see them tie it up at 4-4.
Seen a couple low throws. We had the turf earlier on the hip touch. And then those throws also going uphill. So as the disc comes down, the grass comes up.
So we've got a couple questions here on Twitter. First, Dan Mott asks, is Pat going for the Neil Diamond look minus the chest hair? Dan, you have no idea how much chest hair I have.
It's actually, I've applied sunscreen to Pat's back. And it is a veritable jungle of strawberry blonde.
Ryan Turner asks, is Tad drunk?
I sure wish, Ryan. Charlie said that wasn't cool. Was going to have like the sock approach. That's been big this weekend on the sidelines, in case anyone was wondering.
All right. Game locked here at 4-4. We'll see if Oregon has anything cooked up here to deal with this Wisconsin offense. I think one thing that you can appreciate about both these teams is they really believe down to their core that zones are for cowards.
Yeah, that's been a bit of a theme this weekend among the top teams that are a little too cool for school that have been running person defense the entire time. We'll see. I'll be very curious to see if anyone pulls out a junk set. Right now, this is the least windy it's been all tournament. This going back, OB.
And the fan gets a little something to take home on that one. Throw it into the fan section. Selflessly throwing it back onto the field.
Shout out to our observers today, Dan Lorla and Marvin Vong. We got a tweet here from Ben Iberly. The bearded observer named Dan Lorla desperately needs dating advice. So if anyone out there wants to tweet us some dating advice for Dan, hit us up. We'll be sure to tell him at halftime while he's doing real stuff. Barker, greatest. Back to Jorgensen, caught!
Bingo! There we go.
Unbelievable.
Oh, and it looks as though Oregon might be making a call. No, maybe. Unclear.
Giving it up.
There we go.
Unbelievable. And this is a call that's forever going to be mired by observer dating advice when you look back. An unbelievable greatest. My goodness.
Look at the replay here. And, you know, most people try to keep their throws inbounds. This is some 4D chess here from Wisconsin. So he puts it just where only Barker can get it.
Wow.
And Barker puts it on a plate. It's almost like they drew it up like that.
Wow. The outside end floating just a little bit.
You know, most teams constrain themselves to strategy within the parameters of the sidelines. Wisconsin, though, they're expanding their minds. They're not letting themselves be constrained by 40 by 70.
For Hector Valdivia and company, the sideline is no longer an eighth defender. It's an eighth advocate.
Oregon now still looking for some way to slow down this Wisconsin attack. They've done everything. They've forced them to huck, try to make them grind it, force them to the sideline, force them to throw it out of bounds. Nothing seems to be working so far.
I wish Mitch Dangler was here so we could ask him. I mean, obviously Barker doesn't get the assist there, but it'd be great to ask him and then have him kind of make fun of us for not knowing the answer right away. Whoa. Colton Clark S-cutting. Will he get there?
And that is the second time they've sent Clark deep out of the ISO set, out of the pull play. Not something they've really done in Clark's 3-year history. I guess they were sitting on it for this pool play game at Nationals, waiting for just the right moment to have 2 turnovers as a result.
Jay Jannon's got to be thinking, we've already locked up pre-quarters. We might as well start sending Clark deep as much as possible. Von Kampen going deep, looking for Wiling, who positions, could have the first break of the game here.
And there it is. The hands are up in the air. The spike is down on the ground. And Wisconsin has the first score of the game.
Well, it's a big break for Wisconsin, even if only by virtue of being the first one of the game.
Hey, if you're not first, you're last, Ted.
That's exactly right, Pat.
You see here Oregon's offense walking back to the line.
Despondent.
Connor Matthews not on that previous point, went immediately out onto the field after seeing his teammates screw up without him. That's what leadership is, Ted.
Hold this. I'm assuming he said as he handed a half-drank Gatorade bottle that had been boiling in the sun to whoever's place he just took. Oregon's going to be working downwind here. It was just sort of an unforced error by Moore. Pushed the disc wide. It got a little outside in, a little too flat for Clark, who was wide open.
You got to know your receiver. If that's Quizon Tice, yeah, put that out into space, let him run it down. You can't overthrow him. Big body like Clark, put a little air on it, you know?
Rumbling and stumbling. A rare inbounds pull. Tice picks it up. Up to Stewart. Looks like forced flick from Wisconsin.
Oregon trying out a lot of different roles for their players here, using this as an opportunity to experiment, which is what you do at nationals after an entire regular season.
All right, Stewart going deep. Not going to stay in bounds for him.
Wisconsin baiting Oregon into trying a greatest of their own.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Great strategy there from Wisconsin. It's chess, not checkers.
Von Kampen setting up as the dump. Nope. Just had some dude on the sideline going for the disc there. Forces backhand, Wisconsin and Hostak. Yu with the disc. The left-hander up to Vogt.
Vogt normally on the O-line, brought over to the D-line here. Expect him to be a focus.
Little Poachy handler play. They get it up to Lattice. Lattice into triple coverage now.
Tag teamed by Quizon Tice and Connor Matthews. Normally you got to pay double for that kind of action. Oregon going with a nobody cut strategy. Ooh, a piece there. Great job from Van Kampen. Matthews was clear in the deep space. Clutch hand block.
Yu swings it up. Austin Reef, some of the best hair at the tournament. And he misses David Yu on a wide open swing. Third time's a charm for Oregon. Max Moore reels in the goal.
And that is a crucial hold there. 5-6, very different score than 4-7, if I am looking at my number line correctly.
I think that's right, Pat. What do we have going on? Do we have anything to tell you about here?
Well, we have some sources from Oregon that are supplying us some information about the current team. A little color commentary for you, if you will. Leandro Marks, who we'll see here out on the D-line, apparently his nickname is the Sheriff because he performed a citizen's arrest on somebody at practice last year. Apparently, quote, doughy cop was about 70 yards behind a perp. Marks chased down, wrestled, and controlled the perp until the, again, doughy cop showed up and was able to perform the arrest. And ever since then, he's been called the Sheriff.
Man, was there like a local news story about that? I want to look this up now. I'm so fascinated by that story, I'm just done with this game. That's incredible. That's like everything you dream about as a little kid, and he got to live it out. He got to tackle a purse snatcher.
Yeah, if you're listening out there and you can go to the Eugene Star Gazette or whatever and dig that one up, let us know. Connor Matthews, who is sick from food poisoning, vomiting on the sideline right now.
That is happening. Ooh.
Heart of a champion, heart of a champion.
Barker with the disc now. Swings it back to Samanda. Samanda
to Gallagher. Another little low throw, but Barker is just all over the field right now, running McGinn into dust. Now Samanda with the disc.
Over to Kernick. Oregon forcing backhand.
Doing a good job of gumming up the downfield cutting, but once those inside lanes open, that's where the force middle starts to suffer.
Great little air bounce dish there from Avery Johnson. As Zamanda.
And another hold here for Wisconsin. This Oregon defense has got to start doing something, figure it out. Of course, not zone.
Nope.
God forbid zone.
No, no, no.
But
it's the coward's way out.
Coward's way out, exactly.
Well, while we're here, Pat, we want to welcome our Ultiworld Radio Network affiliates who have just joined us, including WHTE, Pure 107, where Southwest Ohio rallies together for conservative news and Christian Top 40. So welcome, Pure 107. Glad to have you.
And for those of you on Pure 107 that have never heard of Ultimate before, it is a game played with 7 people taking on 7 other people. There's a disc involved. There's some lines. There's some goals. And really, so far today, we've found that this game is so much more than just moving 175 grams of plastic from one spot to another. It's about heart. It's about belief. It's about family. Now, Wisconsin has one of the bigger families, both literally and figuratively. We've got quite the parental presence here for Wisconsin. Of course, the Wisconsin moms, famous for their Migos affiliation, affliction. Fans,
to say the least.
They've been piping it up all weekend long. Hopefully get you some nice high-def footage of that.
All right, a deep pull, slightly upwind for Lattice.
The freshman Scyther doing a good job thus far, sort of that center handling piece for Oregon.
Von Kampen happy to poach off in the lane. David Yu on Clark. Max Moore with the disc.
Quizon Tice was wide open downfield. Got looked off. Sure he'll file that away in his notebook.
Wow.
Reese with the disc on the high side of the field. Dumps back to Scyther. Back to Reese. Oregon keying in on the front of their vert stack here. Give and go method, of course, perhaps perfected by the Oregon alum Dylan Freechild.
Who is not dressed for the game.
Not here right now, it turns out. No longer college eligible.
It's got to be a big loss. You know, Oregon kind of stayed on the map, but Freechildless these last 2 years. We'll see how they can bounce back in this game.
If you take a turtle and you break its shell, is it a turtle anymore? If you take Freechild out of ego,
just a weird, skinny lizard.
Well, those weird, skinny lizards are back within one of Wisconsin now. So the Hodags will be looking to hold for half.
Some nice dump defense on that last possession for Wisconsin. David Yu forcing a wide inside-out throw from Noah Stewart, which he will later revisit at the team dinner tonight and tell people he meant to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In front of the stack.
He just had that sort of vision where, yeah, of course they would expect me to throw it to the open swing pass. Instead, we're going to put it out there into the open space and let fate decide. Oregon needing to get a break on the board here before half. You see that they're putting out some fresh legs, potentially trying to use some new energy. Again, they did just play last round, maybe feeling some of the ill effects. Maybe these young bucking Broncs right now can be just what they need. I said they needed to change something, and putting out their reserve players, I guess, is a change.
That is certainly a method, especially since they were put in front of human buzzsaw Joe Freund last game, who, I don't know if you heard, attends Virginia Tech.
There's Vogt.
Wow.
And there's half.
Wow. Perfectly laced out by Avery Johnson to Vogt. Halftime here, Pat. Oregon unable to really generate any kind of turns in the late stages of the second half.
You know, and I think to get a tactical perspective on this game and what Oregon can do to try to generate some turns here in the second half, we're lucky to welcome into the booth Pittsburgh coach David Hogan.
Kind of getting him set up here with his microphone.
Now, David, what can Oregon do in this game to stop this Wisconsin offense?
Oh, Oregon? I've actually been down there watching UConn Texas A&M. I can tell you guys about that game if you want.
Yeah, give us the Cliff Notes. Sure.
Yeah, A&M's got this pretty big dude who's throwing some stuff. UConn went up a bit. I think A&M came back. I was just in the bathroom for a bit, so I don't know. It looks like a close game.
But so nothing on Wisconsin-Oregon?
No, nothing. I can watch the second half of UConn and come back with a report, or...
Let's do that. We'll check in with you later. And thanks for this great insight.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
That's David Hogan. Thank thanks so much for the insight.
Wow.
And I think we're going to need some time to digest all of that. You at home, I'm sure, do as well. So we're going to cut right now for halftime, but stick around. We will be right back with this exciting second half of Wisconsin versus Oregon.
What does it mean to be powered by Savage? It means we become part of your team. From the moment you're paired with one of our sales reps who will guide you through the ordering process, to working with a designated member of our design team to bring your vision to life. Every step of the production process happens in-house, from printing your gear on our Green Line fabric made from 100% recycled plastic bottles, to cutting out every piece and carefully stitching it together by hand. Wherever you are, however you play, we've got your back. That's what it means to be powered by Savage.
Welcome back to Ultiworld's coverage of the men's division. And we see in the corner of the end zone here, Pat, Charlie saw this guy doing a watercolor painting of the game. No word yet, though, on whether or not his painting will include Cues Tice being tobogganed to the ground by two Wisconsin defenders.
This is an incredibly legitimate painting, exhibiting much more skill than any of the actual players on the field have so far.
This is fantastic. Is he doing this for free?
God, I hope not.
Some affluent Oregon parent fund this? I mean,
that seems up their alley.
Wow. Hats off to that guy. We should talk to that guy later if possible. All right.
We've got a couple of questions on Twitter we want to get to as the game starts here. Kyle asks, does Friday night pickup count as a date? Yes or no?
100%.
All right, there
especially if she's a non-ultimate player. She'll love it.
All right, the Scyther starts with the disc, swings it to Patris.
Wisconsin in zone.
I am appalled, Tad. I am shocked and appalled by this behavior. See a once proud program
going long.
And you know what? Wisconsin gets what they deserve for taking the coward's way out and throwing a zone there. Shameful.
Wisconsin doesn't deserve to win this game, and that D point just underscored that fact. Boy.
Oregon, of course, still sticking exclusively onto the four sideline. Almost something pathological about it at this point.
Dagger of a backhand, and Jeff Mascalunas, the hammer stop, out of position here. We see it swung along to Tice. Tice with a
Patris.
Oh, Patris. Swung along to Patris.
Clark going deep again. Maybe this is some sort of a trying to ploy, like, oh, we're
put some false tape out there, plant some false flags.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the thing that they would expect is for us to have our best thrower back when there's a zone.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right. Well, this has just been a tactical masterclass from both coaches thus far.
Nothing like the layout D-filled, skying slugfest we saw last round from Pittsburgh and Wilmington, a game that was not streamed on Ultiworld, thank goodness. May have been too vile and intense for viewers. An NC-17 rating. Wisconsin coming out in some three-handler hoe.
Oregon doing a good job there of gumming up the underneath, taking away that initial cut, which we've seen Wisconsin be so successful with, getting rolling with their cutter continuation. But Barker able to come back and get it. Gallagher in the middle of the field. Oregon marks have been pretty reactive thus far in this force middle scheme.
Back to Kernick. Floats it a little bit for Barker, but no trouble getting up.
Barker rarely has trouble getting up.
Zamanda digs it up. Gallagher digs it up. Ooh. Maybe he saw that guy drawing in the end zone and decided to draw a foul of his own.
Gallagher with a spot-on James Harden impression there. Saw the hesitation and tried to go for the and one. Someone needs to inform him that's not how Ultimate works. Fouls do not give you extra points. But we'll be back to where we were to begin with, which is a stall 0 disc.
Uncontested foul. Justice is served, Pat. Vote with a man tight on his back. Avery Johnson screaming for the in-cut.
Johnson looking for that around. Gets it off. Disc back to the center of the field. All the way around to the high side. This is where Wisconsin is dangerous. Wisconsin seeming to be confused by this forced middle a little bit.
Barker also being marked by the lead singer from the 90s band, the Spin Doctors.
Didn't know he had any eligibility left.
He's got a pocket full of kryptonite. Barker looking inside, forced to swing it. Wow, a great throw by Vogt. Kicks it up there to Ross Barker.
And that's what we see from Wisconsin. We see their cutters acting like handlers there. That looked like a handler-driven offense, but those are all guys that start downfield. It's really about that connection, getting it through the first level of defense. Once they've done that, Oregon has had no answer thus far.
Just getting it started. And Ross Barker is really the straw that stirs the drink here for the Wisconsin offense. Sometimes you need a player that can get himself in the game. He can catch a goal like that, turn around and say, you know what, team? I'm all the way up. And darn it, you should be all the way up too.
Inspiring stuff. Inspiring stuff there.
We've got some more Ask STF stuff. Check us out on Twitter at SinTheFields. Check us out on Twitter at SinTheFields. Use the hashtag AskSTF. We've got some other things coming in here. Kelly Johnson says, Tad, where is that headband from? Me want. It's a scrunchie. Bought it at Walgreens yesterday and just paid an outrageous, it's like $7. It was a stupid thing. I didn't bring another headband.
Also, Kelly, syntactically, it should be I want. I want. Just to clarify.
It's a good clarification.
Yeah.
You'll be an editor one day yet, Pat.
Oh.
Once Steve Sullivan goes insane and rage quits on Charlie, perhaps tomorrow. A huge bid there by Wisconsin.
Clark staring down the gullet of the defense, decides to take the easy swing.
Sending it deep. Ooh, and that's going to be primo field position for Von Kampen in this Wisconsin D-line O.
Big opportunity here for Wisconsin to take a 10-7 lead. 10-7, of course, the score that Wisconsin beat Oregon at Stanford. Would be difficult to imagine it ending like that today, though.
But boy, it would have to be insane, and I'm rooting for it.
Oh, yeah. A meteor hits or something.
Timeout by David Yu. We'll see if they sub in their O player. Oh,
wait, you can't. You're not allowed to do that. Shout out to Donnie. Also, he recently hurt a disc in his back, bulging disc, and he's been having some struggle with that. So our thoughts and prayers go out to all of the disc trouble that Keith has been having. See you here, ready to start it up for this Wisconsin offense, hoping to pipe it up here and get this crucial break.
Von Kampen reels it in, up to Wiling. Wiling with some big throws here. Goes inside to Yoga Raja.
Back to you. You looking to move it quickly. Ooh. A nice little inside find there. Oregon gets that break. It's now 10-7.
Klaus was kind of on the cone there, stole Yogaraja's goal, and then cut back inside to catch the goal himself.
It's always been a numbers game, Tad. It's always about getting those stats up. As we see here, Ego despondently walking back to the line.
Another break. Got the replay coming up here.
And this is just such a tough play to take away. When you're in the end zone, you can't give up an inch. And that mark, you don't want to give up the around because that just leads to a free break. But you give up that little inside pocket and you're in trouble. I think there what defenders need to do is remember that they only have to guard 20 yards back. And you want to do as much as possible to sort of push your defender backwards. You don't want to make it a lateral game. A lateral game, the mark's got no chance. You want to be pushing them backwards out of the end zone.
And a spike travel call never hurt anybody, Pat. But like you said, the around throw, so easy. The inside, so routine now. We've reached a point where everyone on Ultimate is simply too skilled and the game isn't fun anymore.
Yeah, pretty soon it'll be just robotic until real athletes start playing. And then defenses will probably be able to catch up.
Thank God you and I will be dead by then.
Oh, in 2 months. All right. You see here Oregon's offense needing to get it back together. Young Duncan Fitzgerald coming over to the O-line, primarily a defensive player. We got the tip from an Oregon source that Fitzgerald got acquainted with the team this summer.
Clark looking deep.
Did he catch that?
Boy.
Sure looks like the ground had something to do with that, but... And, I respect Wisconsin. They're not calling that disc down so that they can try to go get another layout block.
And it looks like the call here is on number 15, Jeff Mascalunas. It's a tough play to make cleanly, the wraparound backpack. Matt Jansport Mascalunas, as he's known by his teammates. Not even in the pantheon of the worst bids I've seen this weekend.
We did just watch a Minnesota
Jeff,
game.
I hope you know we're kidding. Mostly. There we go.
There's the travel. Oh,
and you can hear the reaction in the booth.
The crowd loves it.
They're loving it. It's one of the things that makes this game so darn unique. You can be in the back of the stack.
The 20-minute discussion after the spite travel call. Well, it meant nothing. Just took some time off of the slowly ticking hourglass that is our existence.
Dan Lorla overturning the travel there, proving once again observers and third parties have no place in Ultimate. Only WFDF has it right. Only USAU could adopt something similar. We wouldn't see plays like that.
No, we wouldn't. Tad, I think that I give USAU a lot of credit for a lot of what they've done recently. Going back to Sarasota with the club is great. The new ESPN deal that they've negotiated to try to put good, hard-working internet companies out of business. But I do think that maybe we have to reflect back on the past. And this is a matchup that really lets us do that. Wisconsin, Oregon, classic teams. They played back in 2012 in the semifinals. But even before then, you can look at a proud history of these two teams taking the sport way more seriously than anyone else back in the 90s, which enabled them to have some success.
That's exactly right. Earlier today, I heard one USAU official remark to another one, we need to get inner tube guy off the field, and I'm pretty sure that guy with the whale shouldn't be on the field either. I looked over, and Auburn's sideline was storming, and there were a bunch of shirtless dudes playing with pool toys. Something punishable by death by the coaches and alumni of either of these teams.
Oh, and Oregon gets a turnover.
Got away from Grant Kernick a little bit, going downhill, downwind.
That's the kind of zen defensive approach that Jay Jannon really preaches. Do as little as possible. Let the other team make mistakes. And spin doctors. A nice little snag there.
Whoa.
And that's a break for Oregon.
The spin doctor.
Emphatic kick spike there from
Gary Athey.
Pettis.
Up to Ben Pettis. He and Athey, two princes.
And you know what? They pulled all of their starting defensive line off the field. The hungry, scrappy, last guys that didn't get cut roster comes out, and they're able to get the first break of the game. Now, let's see, do you leave the pit bulls on? You saw here, just look at that hunger and desire, will to win, that terrified about the prospect of having to throw a round break. You see the kick spike there.
The big boot.
I would say that's the most popular spike we've seen this weekend, I would say.
I'd agree with that. The most popular and, probably the most played out.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe a tip of the hat to alumni Dylan Freechild, who once again not in cleats today, not available.
Not here. Does not here.
Not here
does
either.
Does not currently play for Oregon anymore.
It's a big loss.
Huge. Crushing.
Really big.
Wouldn't it be a treat if he was here?
I mean, can you only imagine? Freechild was here on this field as a 25-year-old dude in his 7th year undergrad. And another out-of-bounds pull. This one inside out.
Nice catch by a fan on the sideline. Throws his hands up, expecting to get some acknowledgement from the crowd. Gets none, but he did from us. I hope that made your day, anonymous stranger.
It's always the best when somebody's dad tries to lag a disc back and busts out like a sweet barbecue backhand. That's one of my favorite things at tournaments like this, where parents actually come out and support their children.
And another turnover from Wisconsin. It's the Eagles sort of beeline, D-line. It's coming out here and causing some trouble. See Colby Chuck out here with the disc now. Chuck looking to marshal a second straight break here for Oregon. You know what? These little B-team guys are playing so far above their head, they don't even know where they are right now. And the magic is over. The dream is dead. And now the crushing certainty of the Oregon hold is all that remains. The Wisconsin hold is all that remains.
This Oregon D-line flying a little bit too close to the sun, Pat. You hate to see it. And an injury to David Yu. If he's unable to shake this off, that's going to be a big loss for Wisconsin.
He is a very important player for them as they move forward into bracket play. He had an incredible layout block against Minnesota in the previous game on game point. It was all for naught because his teammate then immediately turned it over. But, good job. See the wind starting to pick up a little bit here. And another turnover.
Another turnover.
Here we go. Can the scrub squad get it done? The hammer from Cuck. Towed in!
It's in!
Colby Chuck with a dime hammer right to the sideline. Perfectly placed.
Logan Chantelios called for it the whole way.
Like a rookie in Summer League, just waving his arm, running towards the back line. It's only one way to get the disc there, and Chuck did it.
A lot of initiative by Chuck there, because if he turns it over, it's totally his fault, not the guy who browbeat him to throw it. 100% on Chuck there. Just a dynamite throw.
And we have a tie game all of a sudden, 10-10. Here we look at this replay for Chuck. And, I like this. You have the freshman Chuck, put him out there, say, this is your line now. You're in charge. You go lead these men to victory.
Fantastic throw.
We got a
timeout here, which, as we've been tapped on the shoulder by producer Jesse Goldstein, means it's time for another read.
And we've got a big moment here, 10-10. Now, if you're Coach Jay Jannon, do you leave out this spirited, young, hungry, up-and-coming, go-and-get-'em line of reserve D-line players, or do you bring back in the veteran, steely, guys that got nothing accomplished in the first 80% of the game.
When you're invited to the biggest 2-1 seating-related party of the year, you dance with who brung you. Not back to 10-10, but to this point.
Right.
So the veterans, probably. What do we got? Yeah, Spin Doctor's out there. We've got Ben Pettis, Colby Chuck.
We've got Colton Clark with a jug of water berating them for something.
You got lucky. I can only imagine it was, you got lucky. I mean, great, but...
And now if you're Wisconsin, how does this feel to have the little giants have come up and are starting to take it to you? You're proud of like, hey, we just went blow for blow with Minnesota. Now we've got a bunch of kids that got picked last at dodgeball coming for us.
And this one is going to settle just inbounds and slide out.
Great pull. And another disc on the field.
Ooh, from what had to be a terrible pull in the Minnesota UBC game. Barker with the disc.
Johnson up on the high side of the field to vote. Chuck locked in on that mark. Cheeky little scoobers. Johnson bellows for the disc.
Wow. Fantastic space throw by Johnson. Vogt maybe didn't have a ton of separation when he put it up, but defender had his back to him. He just laid it out there for him and ran onto it.
Veteran throw by Johnson. Not only do you have to know where players on the field are, you have to know what they're looking at. You have to know what they're aware of. And most importantly, you got to know, is this some scrub Spin Doctors guy that's probably playing his 4th point at Nationals all weekend?
A lot of factors to consider here, Pat. As we go back to the replay,
Barker with a nice scoober.
Whoop. Little matter of fact. Invert, and then just a beautiful outside-in throw. Sits perfectly in front of Vogt.
Johnson trying to pipe it up single-handedly there with that little celebration. But the Wisconsin moms are a little muted right now. Displeased by the break train. Got to get the moms back on your side. Key right now for Wisconsin.
And we want to plug the Ultiworld subscription.
Yeah.
We're looking for subscribers. That's going to lead to more content for you to enjoy as an Ultimate fan. And for a limited time only, if you subscribe in the next hour,
yes,
we are going to, you will receive by mail a Wisconsin Moms calendar.
Pipe it up in 2017 with the Wisconsin moms. Very classy, very tasteful. And it's all going towards a good cause of keeping Charlie nominally employed.
Hang it up at work, and you can pipe it up on break. Clark looking deep.
That is a dime ball by Clark, and the Oregon sideline loves it. Hey, there's even a dude on crutches going out there. He looks a little unsafe. Hope he doesn't fall, but he sure wants to celebrate.
Oh, you know, it's actually dangerous for the lymph nodes underneath the armpit if you misuse crutches. You'll need to be careful. Seriously, not a joke. It's a problem. Wow.
And once you've developed lymph problems, it just all downhill from there, and it affects everything.
I think that was to Latarski. We're going to look at the replay here.
Another sideline huck that Oregon loves so much. Just picture perfect. Fruitless bid, total waste of time by the Wisconsin defender there. Left with nothing but a mouthful of grass and a lifetime of regret.
But if you're Chris Wiling there, you've got to show Coach Hector Valdivia you are ready to die.
Or else Valdivia will beat you with a sack full of car batteries in the locker room after the game.
Outside of a Madison club. So we were going to do an interview here, Pat. We've got Virginia Tech sensation Joe Freund. Unfortunately, this game has turned into something before our very eyes. But we'll get Joe Freund up here, and maybe he'll be able to join us after this point. Kernick up to Barker. Tough throw to make.
It's a line drive right to Barker. Little dish, Little tap. Oh. Well, that was shambolic.
Yikes.
Vote looking like a
Jan Samanda.
Vote looking like a cat that was blown off a roof by a heavy wind. Able to come down with this one. But joining us in the booth right now, we've got the only player on Virginia Tech worth his weight in sand. Joe Freund.
Hey guys, what's up?
Not much. Joe, you go to Virginia Tech kind of as a labor of love. You're able to take these scrubs from absolute nothingness to nationals. What's that been like?
Well, yeah, that's been fun. I feel like on a team like this, I can really make the entire difference, because this team, without me,
You're the
who
difference
knows where
between
they'd be.
losing 15-6 and losing 15-3, right?
Exactly.
Right.
I'm Joe Freund.
Joe, tell us about your game against Oregon just a round earlier. Not the result you guys wanted, but like you said, you are Joe Freund. What were you able to do to muster some kind of semblance of real ultimate for Virginia Tech?
Well, I am Joe Freund. I tried, so I talked to some of the captains, some of my friends. Try to get them to get me the disc as much as possible, because I feel like that's how we come out on top.
Makes sense to me. Joe, it's been a tough nationals for you guys so far, but you're here. What are you going to do this weekend to celebrate?
We have some events planned. Shout out to the Delaware girls team. But that should be fun.
All right, Joe. I see your groundwork.
Brutal drop there from Oregon. Now, Joe, that's nothing you would ever do on a field, right?
Oh, I haven't dropped it yet. Ever.
Joe, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with? Maybe a pick for this game and what one team would be up by score-wise if you played for them?
Oh, well, definitely Wisconsin. Definitely.
But what
probably up 5-6 points by now, I'd imagine.
Sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
right,
I like to stay humble.
Well, that's Joe. That's humble Joe Freund joining us here in the booth. Thanks so much for coming by, Joe, and thanks so much for blessing Ultimate with all your talent, your skill, and your humility.
Thanks for having me.
There he was, Pat. Joe Freund.
Oh, I feel blessed.
Phenomenal
Got like
player.
Tinkerbell dust on me now.
Touched by the hand of God almost.
Mm.
The Christ figure Joe Freund came to us.
Virginia Tech, of course, stealing NC State's bid at regionals, allowing us to be in this booth to begin with. Big thanks to him for that. And another brutal drop, something Joe Freund would never do. It's Oregon back at it now. Huge rip to nowhere. And now Wisconsin labors back towards that disc. It's always awful when someone just overthrows someone by 20 yards and you're a handler and you're all the way downfield and you got to trudge down and the observer starts counting down. Another reason why we don't need observers. They're just refs in orange shirts.
Well, fortunately for me, Pat, I'm never in a game good enough or on a team good enough to be in an observed game, so I can't speak from personal experience, but it seems very, very annoying.
Great job laying out at nothing on the mark there by Colton Clark.
Good gravy.
The Amoeba Madness defense working now for Oregon. Offense can't figure out what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing. A little J. Jen and truism there. And there we go. Another score for Oregon, and it is 12-12. This game is loose. This game is getting spicy. And all of a sudden, we found ourselves the tie game late with the crucial implication of who finishes second or who finishes third in Pool D.
You know, to use a metaphor that I think everyone can relate to, this game started out ugly, pasty, low energy, kind of like a Preston Thompson of a game. But now it's evolved into a high-powered sexual Adonis, more like a Keith Rayner type.
All right, now we see here Wisconsin maybe looking a little shook. Jay Jannon out there giving words of wisdom to this Oregon D-line. See if they can get one more break. Can they get over the top? Now, Tad, when you've been in late game situations like this where everything starts to get a little tight, everything starts to get a little tense, what do you try to do mentally to keep yourself calm, keep yourself in the moment?
Well, I like to manically repeat to myself over and over, don't screw this up, don't screw this up, don't screw this up, don't screw this up. And then follow it by a terrible 100-mile-an-hour inside-out flick turn. We'll see if Wisconsin is able to take a page from that book. Wisco inside stack, Barker in isolation.
Kernick doesn't have the courage to throw it to him. Does Vogt? No. No, he doesn't.
Avery Johnson goes up to get it.
A nice little shimmy shake there from Gallagher. Gains yards on the reset. Force middle starting to fall apart here for Oregon. Couple of easy flips. Vogt gets to the end zone for what I can only assume is his 6th goal of the game? 7th? Something?
It's been a big game for Vogt.
I'm sure later tonight, back in the hotel room, we'll say that the number was 9 or 12.
May depend on the number of sodas he consumes. All right. Looking to Twitter here for Asks in the Fields. Colby writes, of Wisco and Oregon, which team are you guys most excited to party with at Nationals? Should either team not make semis? Well, Colby, we don't do that here. My body's a temple. Pat's body's a shrine.
And Ultiworld means something. There's a divine purpose to what we're doing here that will not be sullied by any sort of fraternizing with our subjects. We have journalistic integrity here at Ultiworld.
This isn't just some half thrown together crew of 10 tired people with old MacBooks. This is a legitimate news entity. And here we go, finally, the pipe it up cheer.
The pipe it up cheers are coming. Wisconsin moms starting to get into it. Petrus with the disc. Tarski's standing dumbfounded in the middle of the field. Clark hammer to an outcut. Nice snag by Moore. Back to flying tomato Duncan Fitzgerald. Fun fact about Duncan Fitzgerald, he actually ate his twin in the womb. Doctor said that he gained courage.
He's a spiritual man, Fitzgerald, and so is his family.
Tarski there to collect the goal to take us to 13-13. Now we see here, it's a close situation. The energy battle, which was for long in Wisconsin's favor, Oregon is absolutely winning it. Colton Clark just threw a 45, 50-yard hammer to an outcut down the same third sideline, and it worked. When that happens, I think you have to kind of believe that God wants you to win. So Oregon has to be very confident now at this point.
Just ice water in his veins to deliver that, because if it goes bad, it's not going to be like, oh, a flick hook that went a little too long. It's going to be really bad, historically bad. Just an unbelievable catch, unbelievable throw, and a nice catch to go up and get it and not wait for the defender to get there.
All right, crucial D-line here. Remember, Oregon still needs to get a break at some point if they're going to get back into this game. And they're riding here with the crazy train sub D-line. Not really any of their usual starters. They've gotten the job done thus far in the second half. We've got the bespectacled puller here. John Aycock.
And perhaps the worst pull of the day.
To get his prescription checked.
You know what?
I
Not
think.
even close to the worst pull. The one in the trees, I think, Pat, we can all agree was the worst pull. And there's number 24 who hustled to lag the pullback. We saw him do the same thing for his team in the Minnesota game before he was waved off as an observer went to go get it.
Made about an 80-yard dead-ass sprint and ended up doing nothing but wasting energy.
Von Kampen, the pull coverage man on the sidelines for his O team. Is there anything he can't do? And Vogt whisks it along to Avery Johnson.
Wisconsin flowing like a mighty river. I can't think of any rivers from Wisconsin. The Whitewater, perhaps. But in any event, flow through the Oregon D. Maybe putting a bunch of substitutes and second-string players out there isn't necessarily the best way to do it.
All right. Right now, we are going to go to our BE Ultimate play of the game.
And, of course, that is Ross Barker's Callahan greatest, not a Callahan. The B Ultimate play of the game, Ross Barker's greatest. The form, the precision, the confidence. What a man. What a play.
What a man, what a man, what a mighty good man. And like any good greatest, the dude that ends up catching it totally alone in the end zone. That's our BE Ultimate play of the game. BE Ultimate, the only company to offer the revolutionary N-knit and N-weave, outperforming the competition. Like them, you should choose to be better than ever. Check them out, beultimate.com.
So B Ultimate, great sponsor here.
Boy, did I, oh, boy.
Well, to be fair, it does stand for better than ever, maybe. But they'd condense it into one word. It's unclear.
B Ultimate, I apologize. I usually wear cotton cutoffs when I play. If you guys have one, I'd love to check it out.
And some more unfamiliar faces here playing for Oregon. A little miscommunication in the dump set. Leads to a run-through block.
Sam Herbert just muscling past the offender there in the phone booth. Very shallow, tight upline throw.
See a nice little inside
Petrus
flick.
poaching heavily off the front of the stack. Herbert again.
Oregon here on the doorstep of glory and immortality for winning this pool play game. Another greatest attempt there for Wisconsin, not quite as successful as the last. And you know what Oregon's doing here? They are suckering Wisconsin into playing their game. Say, hey, we're going to throw a bunch of sublines out at you. We're going to throw 50-yard four-side hammers to an outcut. And pretty soon Wisconsin starts to wilt a little bit and say, hey, maybe I don't need to pivot on this flick. And look what happens.
It was a crazy shot and a towering backhand from Colton Clark.
You know, you had to throw it. You had to take that chance. Anytime you can throw to someone who's not a starting member of your O-line into double coverage, you have to do it.
Got to take that shot. This is the way the game has gone so far, too, which has led to its own brand of excitement. Herbert cutting under. Von Kampen not out there. Neither is you. So we'll see if they can generate some movement here without those facilitators on the
Foul
Wisconsin
call there
defense.
that had no effect whatsoever on the play, but good thing you called it. Glad we were able to dot that I and cross that T. And what has been a relatively clean game thus far
is getting even cleaner because they're playing by the rules, Patrick. Ultimate is self-officiated if you're joining us from Pure 107, where Southwest Ohio comes for conservative talk and Christian Top 40. You might not know a lot about the game, but a big shot. Yoga Raja just misses his man deep.
Just a stone-cold drop there from Urain. Somebody call that guy's bookie. I think he might have something on the spread at this point. Wisconsin just trying to overcome that terrible drop to play some defense. Nice little inside flick around from the freshman Scyther. Yahtzee. And that is how you get it back after a drop. Pipe it up indeed, Tad. Pipe it up all day long. That's an incredible play.
Joey Unrain, Scyther with the fancy no-step around backhand, kind of meatballs in the air. Hangs there like a juicy lollipop, and Joey Unrain is able to come over and take a big old lick.
Unrein couldn't resist that one.
Never try to cross the Rhine, Pat.
Now we'll see here if Unrind. Oh, and another spectacular play! Colton Clark moving about 240 pounds of meat through the air to come down with that one. Petrus trying to toe in, looking like a Olympic skier, negotiating some bumps. Oh, Clark with a cheeky little inside lefty dish. Swag, 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 swag.
Boy, Colton Clark recruited to play football at Oregon under Chip Kelly. The coaching change left him the odd man out. He was cut shortly after that. You wonder what kind of career arc he could have.
And then Jay Jannon stepped in. Gave that young man a home, gave that young man a purpose, and now he's made his way all the way to Mason, Ohio to throw little lefty backhands in what is almost essentially a meaningless game to both of these teams.
Well, meaningless as it may be, if you're hungry after the game and you're in Mason, make sure you check out Rookie Dave's Food Zone. Rookie Dave's now features the ultimate brunch. Stop in Sundays between 11 and 3 and enjoy stale bagels, unripe bananas, Nutella with a bunch of crumbs in it, and natural light mimosas for only $250 per party. It's Rookie Dave's Food Zone, located in the Spillmore Plaza off I-71, right next to the massage parlor.
And with the horn going off, we're now looking at double game point here. Potentially. I'm not sure. Cap rules are very confusing. I think both teams would be game for it. You got Wisconsin coming out on offense. Oregon, who have trolled their way to a tie game. And we're playing to 16 now. I'm being informed by the only actual adult in the booth, our producer, Jesse Goldstein.
Gallagher up to Kernick. Barker in isolation, as he often is. Social and emotional.
When you're at the top of the world like Barker, it gets a little lonely.
Jorgensen with a questionable outside-in flick that Avery Johnson is able to reel in past a bidding defender. Avery Johnson to Vogt, whose man was totally over-orbited on the break side.
The Oregon defender there forgetting that force middle only applies to the mark. When you're actually guarding someone, you have to do the opposite. Classic mistake that rookies will make at pickup, and also something that this guy just made in the national championships.
Well, Pat, going back to Twitter here, coming through on the tweet machine from Sam Butler. What brand of underwear are you guys wearing? Stupid question, Sam. Neither of us are wearing underwear.
All right, and also going to Twitter here. Just want to thank everybody for being so polite and respectful. Usually when we put out calls to Twitter, we get stuff that would make chat roulette blush.
A viable substitution. We should get a chat roulette account next year. We've got a shout-out here. Gordon on Twitter says, Chris Wiling will celebrate his 43rd birthday in July, so shout-out to Chris Wiling.
We want to give a shout-out right now to Dirty in the Dishes, Wisconsin bandmate of Maddox Hill from the Hodag. So Maddox Hill, his band Dirty in the Dishes. Check them out maybe on Spotify or SoundCloud. God, I really hope it's not some like crazy white nationalist hate band or something that we just promoted. In any event, Oregon have the disc. Oh,
wow.
Call it. Oh, call it.
Well, if you've played Ultimate for any length of time, you'd know this body language from a mile away.
It's the incredulous, I just threw my body through the air and trucked you, but wasn't it cool? I'm probably going to contest.
Didn't you hear my teammates cheer very loudly?
And is there any doubt that Clark's throwing a huck here at all? Apparently. Moore shooting it deep. Not even close. Wisconsin looking to break to win here. Moving it up the fourth sideline. Oh, and a brutal foul right there. You could hear it from the booth. Is he contesting that?
I think he's calling a foul, maybe?
He did get slapped. I think he's saying it hit his face.
Popped in the face.
Little known bylaw, yeah. If you get popped in the face, it can't be a defensive foul.
No matter what happens, if you get hurt in the play, you are in no way responsible.
Which is why Laurel Oldershaw's bid wasn't a foul. So we've got a little discussion here. Maybe just trying to piece himself back together. That was a little bit of a stinger there. You know, I remember in college sectionals in 2013, a teammate of mine knocked someone unconscious with a backhand like that. So quite frankly, I think this Oregon player should be glad that he's got all his marbles straight and not complain too much about the foul call.
He got off easy in my book.
Moore taking a sub, and we've got...
I can't believe this is still going
Mike
on.
Filden coming in. Unclear what they could possibly be discussing at this point.
Marvin Vong trying to expedite the game, I guess.
Barker coming in for Wisconsin to close the door here. This game is so far below him, he's just disgusted to be on the field. And a pick called, because of course it is.
Well, we have these stoppages, which nothing, history shows, will not cease until one team scores. Well, maybe not. We've got time to go to Twitter here. Jacob Pfeiffer, which team has the angriest parents at Natty's? I was going to say Wilmington.
A nice little snag there on the sideline. Moving the disc back to the middle of the field. Amazingly, no pick calls yet in the last 4 throws. Wisconsin getting close to putting this game out of its misery. Barker staring down the hammer side. Likes to just go with the around. Back to Barker. Barker running the show here.
Ooh.
This is why you bring a tryhard like Barker in to a D-line. And he puts the disc into the end zone to Adam Klaus, and that's game. Klaus, the 5'6" spark plug, gets the job done for Wisconsin. And now Oregon has to be crushed that they now are also just still in pre-quarters.
Well, they did it, Pat. They went through with it, and they played a game that will affect them in some way. Boy, oh boy.
You see Wisconsin here lining up. The fans are loving it. Look at that crowd. Oh, yeah. Ultimate at its finest here. A little replay. Barker, the vision, the precision, the execution.
Really dynamic. I mean, he can jack it. He can go around flick. He's got all the breaks. Just a fantastic final throw, an exclamation point on a tight game win for Wisconsin.
And that's going to about do it here for us from Mason. Although we do have one little bit of business we got to take care of here first before the end of the game. Our trash FB of the game so far. So, Tad, I'm going to kick it off to you. Who's the first trash of the game?
The first trash is going to be the pulls, Pat. Pulls were terrible, atrocious. Less inbounds than out of bounds. It was a bad look, especially the one that went into the UBC field, but that may have been a make-good since UBC had one that came directly into this game, kind of a revenge thing.
All right, our second trash of the game so far is going to be that despite opening up their entire roster, Oregon did refuse to put the player with crutches on the field. Now, that's ableism if I've ever heard it, and that's not something we stand for here at Ultiworld.
I mean, think about all the great memos that could be sent out through USAU personnel about we have to include some kind of rule about not having a guy with crutches on the field. Maybe he throws a crutch at a disc, gets a block somehow, and then subs out.
Oh, yeah. It's a reverse Kirk Gibson. You come in, throw a crutch at something, take yourself out. And then our FB of the game is the one, the only Charlie Eisenhood for making us stream this one instead of Pitt Wilmington.
Pitt Wilmington, so far, probably the game of the tournament.
And no one got to see it.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks a freaking load.
All right, well, for Tad Whistle, I'm Patrick Stegemeller. It's been rich. It's been compelling. It's been live. It's in the fields.
This game is brought to you by Spin Ultimate, proud to sponsor Ultiworld's 2020 college coverage. Visit Spin Ultimate on the web at spinultimate.com.
Every time the pressure rises, we play better. Let's go, take down the field.
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis,
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
documentary shorts,
And we've played Bird Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
and a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.